Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson today, it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to show you how to create, again, this depends on where you live. So for me, how to create $30 worth of printed tissue for $1.50. I know, it sounds weird, right? So a bit of a backstory that a lot of the emails that I get when I do projects, when I have printed tissue for collage, is you guys express some concerns about the cost of that stuff and not being able to get it. And I hear you, because I go through it here in Canada. Our supplies are very expensive, and a lot of the stuff that's available in the US is not available up here. So as Canucks, we revert to DIYing a lot of stuff. So just to give you some context, so this is the tissue paper that I picked up at the dollar store. It was $1.25 at Dollarama. 30 sheets, 20 by 20. This is frickin' huge. Okay, this is massive. This is stuff you find in the gift bagging section, and I like using just white because it becomes transparent. Now, one of the things with this particular one is its premium quality. You can go for the cheap stuff. So it's transparent. So the thinner, the better. And just to give you another idea, if you don't have any gift tissue or whatever, you can use napkins and pull the, I'm not even going to do it because I have trouble with these. You pull the backing off of the napkins and you get that. Okay, see how transparent it is? And when it gets wet, it becomes even more transparent. So, I mean, look at this. This is huge. So a pack, if I go, now I'll just use this one because this was just a pattern. So this particular one, also Dollarama, was $1.25. So 36 of these, 10 by 10. Now how big is that? Is that about 10 by 10? Where's my ruler? Oh, you know it's underneath the thing. So let's just say that's 10 by 10. So 36 pieces, okay, for $1.25. And you may say, that's a load of crap, Gisele, because it's going to cost you more than that to actually make it. Well, let's say we already have the paint. So it's not costing us anymore. We don't have to buy the paint. And I'm not using any commercial art supplies, meaning stamps or stencils. I'm not using any of that stuff. I'm simply using paint that I already have and poop that I've gathered over the years. I wasn't sure if my grandkids were watching, so I'm not going to swear. But I just want to show you. So again, all this tissue stuff, and I have a box here, which is full. I can't add any more in of all this stuff that I gather. Okay, so this black and white tissue, okay, that I can use as is. It's from Sephora. This one here, I don't want to use because it's so beautiful. This is from, was it Wonderlust? It's from a pair of boots that I bought. I mean, look at that. It's beautiful. So we're going to, hopefully the audio is not picking up all the whooshing. So we're going to be creating a bunch of printed tissue. So in saying that as well is, oh, let me just move this stuff. And for those of you who are saying just get on with it, you know what, be patient because there's beginners watching that haven't got a clue what to do. So this video is primarily for them. So let me just get this out of the way. Now to show you, what I did is that big package I showed you. So I took it and then I cut it into 4s. To come up with sheets that are much easier to manage. And just to show you, and that's how thin they are. Now, if you're not sure if what you're using is thin, my table's so small. I'm just going to spray this with water just to show you how transparent that becomes. This is ideal. Okay, so we're talking 30 sheets of 20 by 20. If you're in Canada, 50.8 by 50.8 centimeters. So, I mean, this is ideal, okay? And some of you may say, well, why should I go through the hassle of making my own printed tissue paper? Like, why? Why bother? Or I can buy it. Because when you're making your own printed tissue, let me see if I can find a sheet while I'm talking. Nobody else in the entire world will have the exact same thing that you have. Do I have it in here? Oh, no, it's probably, oh, it's all mixed in. No, this will be completely one of a kind. Nobody else will have this. Okay? Plus, when you buy the printed tissue at the store, and I'm not knocking those because they do have their place, the printed tissue at the store, it's the same pattern over and over and over again. And because it's commercialized, many people buy it, so you'll see it, the same pattern in people's art. This way, it's completely unique. All right, so let me move, oh, jeepers creepers, let me move that box out of the way. Oh. And I'm not going to do all these, otherwise we'll be here for 5 hours. I'm going to do a few. And what I have handy, I've got, this is all stuff from my blue box. Again, I'm not using any commercial art supplies. Meaning I'm not using brushes, I'm not using rollers, I'm not using stamps or stencils. It's paint is the only thing that I'm using that's commercialized. I've got these little containers. These are from fruit cups, and these are for, oh, this is from stuff from go to the restaurant. Little pies. This is from protein shake containers. So you can use this stuff to mix. You can also use them to create patterns. I'm using them to thin down paint. This is where the magic happens. It doesn't even fit on my table. It's just, on camera, it's so big. All right. So this is stuff I gathered from the year. It's, I don't know if you guys remember how small of a box it was, but now it's a massive, massive box. So Amazon, thank you, creates the most amazing bubble wrap for their actual plastic packaging. I rip it and it gets this beautiful stuff. So anything that makes a mark. Okay, so packaging, foam rollers. So this is sponge stuff that I picked up for a kids arts and crafts thing I hosted. And I just cut up some pieces to make stamps. Cores, paper towel cores, and you know, it's a lint roller thing. You can, well, whatever, you can wrap string around it and roll it. This was a die cut that I was experimenting with that I kept. I'm not going to throw it away. Stuff from again, I was putting this through my die cut machine and came up with these. I'm not going to throw those out. Straws, feathers. This is from a, I believe it's a Strathmore mixed media book, I think. I think that's what that's from. I'm not sure. So, and this stuff here, I'm looking forward to trying this. This is from the new laptop that I bought. This is the core packaging, and it's in layers. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's in layers. And this stuff would make amazing stamps if you just cut it here. Again, I'm not going to show everything, but we'd be here for hours. This is stuff I made out of resin. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Ooh, I like that. I have no idea. Oh, that's from, I think this is from Nespresso. I'm not sure. And then, of course, cardboard. That's kind of like a mandatory thing. You have to have cardboard pieces for your mark making supplies. Okay, so let me just put all this poop back. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time to Ava and Wolf if I happen to say the swear word for poop. Sorry. All right. So the only thing you need to put down on your table as well is something to protect your table. So plastic sheet, you know, whatever. I'm used to, this here is just foam board. That's all it is. Do you need to iron it before you work on it? Nope, not at all. Now, oh, what am I going to put my paint on? Okay, I don't want to use commercial art supplies. Oops, I didn't think of this. Shoot, I guess I can put it on here. But normally I would use palette paper to put my paint on. But I think I will have to do that because the saran wrap that I have, that I could use, I don't think I have any. No, it's not big enough. Okay. That's the problem when you have so much poop in your boxes. It's so much. Okay, so I am going to use palette paper just because. If you have these barbecue grill sheets, you could use those too. I destroyed mine. Okay, so paints, what are you going to use? Well, you know what? It's more of an easier question of what not to use. You can use everything. One of the things that I like to use, and I've got them all in front of me, is the Decor Art Media Fluid Acrylics are perfect for this because they're so fluid. Now, when creating the stamped tissue, you can stick with black if you want. I'm going to not practice because I've done this so many times. I'm going to be working with a combination of finishes. So I pulled out some matte metallics. And pop quiz, why would I use matte metallics versus using shiny metallics? Like the extreme sheen or the regular metallics. Why would I use matte metallics instead? So that's your pop quiz question for today. Well, for now. So I've got silver. So this is the Decor Art Matte Metallic, silver, aged bronze, vintage brass, pewter, and charcoal. So I picked out some stuff that, you know, would go nice together in a single piece, but I normally wouldn't add all these colors in a single piece. Okay, but they work really nice together. So I'll put those over here. For regular acrylics, again, like I said, you can use anything you want. There are no rules. So let's take black and let's go a bit wild. Let's go with some quinacridone magenta, and let's go with some cobalt teal hue, and let's go with some sap green. Let me think, what else? Something bright. Hansa yellow medium. And oh, of course, I have got to use these ones. Transparent red iron oxide, transparent yellow iron oxide. I'm going to use quinacridone burnt orange. All right, so do you have a certain style for painting? If you're primarily vintage, these colors work really well. With the quinacridone magenta, so stick with the neutrals. Black, white, neutral, well, white, unless your tissue is, you want to overlap layers. Black, white, the earth tones. Okay, but if you're into bright, vibrant colors, use those instead. And with the tissue, because you usually tear it, you can mix a whole bunch of different colors on one sheet. But if you're overlapping, just make sure that when you're following a theme, so let's say your book is primarily, you know, these two, and then overlapping sap green on top may not work. So what I like to do is create families of papers, so vintage pieces and bright pieces and neutral pieces, and then some I will overlap, just to make it easier when it comes to the creation process. Okay, I'm done. So with the cobalt teal hue and the Hansa yellow medium with the fluid acrylics, you can make this color because you've got like phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, cobalt turquoise hue, and with the yellow, I mean, you can always go with the Hansa yellow light if you wanted something a little bit lighter. Okay, so see the difference? It's completely up to you. There, like I said, there are no rules. Oh, let me prop in a yellow in there. So there, we'll do that. There are no rules. And I am going to bring some white because I want to try that. So I'm going to use the titanium white. And this here, this is the wax metallics. I flooded it with water, let it sit for a few days to prep for this project. And to make this liquid, I'm going to use that. All right. So I'm going to start first with cardboard. Nope, not that one. You can also buy this at the dollar store. If you have it, you know, why not? And this part here, you can keep it for collage material to strengthen up a card or something. All right, so I'm going to leave it wrinkled. I don't care. Let's start with black. And let's just put black out there. And we'll put some quinacridone magenta over here. And this is where having the palette paper does come in handy to keep things far apart, because like to stamp stuff with cardboard, come on, is you need the room. Oh, I avoided a mess there. So I'm going to start with these. Again, there's so many different possibilities with these. And the beauty, my people, is that it's unique to you. So use a chopstick to make marks. You can use a straw to make marks. Whatever. Just raid your blue box. And if you don't know what a blue box is, just or your recycle box and just find stuff in there that you can use to make a mark. Take a look at it. What's the shape? There, it can make a mark. Okay, so if you're not sure, okay, so, I've got a paint bottle. Can I use this to make a mark? Sure I can. I could use that. I can take the cap off. I can use that. So almost anything can be used to make a mark. Let's start. Okay, so I'm just going to spread this out a bit. Now, if going on the aspect of making things easier, you can take a brush and just brush this if you're really low on space. So I'm just going to make some marks here. Oh, that looks like a crown. That looks like a crown. And make sure you vary the patterns. Oh, what else can I do? All you're doing is making marks. I'm just going to skim that. Because tissue is used to create layers. It's not the actual piece of art. It's used to create layers. So cardboard, that. I mean, hello. How beautiful is that? Remember, vary the position. All right, that's good too. Now, when you're working with this, black, I will be honest, is much easier to work with. So, see how it's got that hard edge in there? I'm not liking that. So what can you do? I can go over here where the edge is torn and use that instead. Or, I'm going to get my hands dirty. It doesn't really matter. Where the paper is partially torn off, I can do that. Or tear the actual piece of cardboard to get a unique shape. And that way you don't get anything. I mean, I could even cut that even more. Okay? And then all these pieces, this would make a nice edge. Let me just spread this out a little bit more. That's too much paint, but you know what I'm doing, right? So let's just get that edge there. Ooh, that's too much paint. So I could, tap that off on a paper towel or just press lightly. Okay. So right now I'm just showing you different ways that you can use cardboard. Okay. And all the stuff that we used, don't throw it out. Just hang on to it. All right. So let me, is there something else that I can use for cardboard? I've got so much stuff here. Holy moly. Oh, you know what? Let's just go to a different sheet. Okay. So that takes care of that. Okay, put that aside. Oh, shoot. That just landed face down on the floor. Sorry, Joe. Let's do this one. So the next thing you can do, and I'm going to show a few, and then I'll create one formal piece, is when you're stamping stuff, I'm also cleaning up the, wherever I stamped, use the paper to blot that up. Bubble wrap. You knew that I was going to use bubble wrap, right? Now with this, I'm going to pull out a paintbrush just to help with the room because I don't want to keep wasting this stuff here. And, if you're watching this, it's very likely that you do have paintbrushes. But you can go right onto your paper. hello. And again, just make sure. Now, if you have a big table, lay out a few sheets. That way you can, don't overpower one sheet with one particular style. You can go to another sheet and do this, another sheet. Take the same bubble wrap, use a different color. So I could come in now with transparent yellow iron oxide. And let's go in with transparent red iron oxide on the bottom. And a bit of quinacridone magenta here. So 3 different colors. Let's see what we get. In 3 different patterns. And you can also press on just certain parts to get different shapes. So that's the one side. Now this is the other side. Oh, let's do this way. Okay, you can do that as well. And what I like to do is just change up exactly the area that I'm pressing, just to get different shapes. Okay, and the other one was well used, where the paint has dried. Let's throw in a little bit of red in there. So this, what you can do is just paint, and it should be within the same color family if possible. That way it's cohesive, but it doesn't matter. And this would be more ideal. Oh, I forgot to cut this one down. The whole piece. Remember, this is just collage material. Okay, there, done. There's another piece. All right. Let's do this one. Can you overlap? Sure you can. So if we did this, use up the excess, and then we could come in with the cardboard like that. You could come in with putting something down here and then coming in and the piece of cardboard would work as a mask to give you that interesting shape. Okay, let me just get that out there. Okay, so that's bubble wrap. Bubble wrap is the best. I don't have the room for that. Oh my goodness, I need a bigger table. Okay, now this looks sloppy, but when you cut it out into a small piece, we're going to stamp some more. When you cut out into a small piece, just look at that. That's really cool. Circles. Circles are the best. Okay, so let me just get some different sizes. So circles, you simply take a core and you pop that in there. Don't be afraid to go off the paper. Also, don't be afraid to use different sizes. I need more black. So see what I did there? I went to magenta, did some stamping, went into burnt orange, did some stamping, went into black. And what's happening, because the pressure is different, I've got some of the rings with black, quinacridone burnt orange, and quinacridone magenta. Let me get some more black out there. You don't even have to do the whole thing. You can also take it and turn, and you get kind of like a scritchy scratchy. You can also take it, well, hopefully I don't knock this over, and put it on top. And then, because this you can press and just get certain areas, but much more defined lines. Like I said, there's really no rules of what you can do. It's not like you can only do one thing. And then let's go over here. You can take, oh, I popped, oh, I don't even have any water. This is why I don't like using brushes when it comes to doing this stuff. Take another one, roll it into something. Now that's going to be really strong. So what could you do with that? You can, well, if you have a scrap piece, you could do that just to get the excess off. Okay, I'm liking how some of it's being removed there. Now we'll come back. I bet you it went through. Yep. Ooh, well there you go. There's another thing. You're just getting some of the, like a grunge that really absorbed. Once you have a lot of paint on it like this, it won't absorb as much. Right now it's a raw tube and it's absorbing. What else have we got? Okay, let me put that aside. Let me put that aside. Let me put all this stuff aside. Ooh, I'm going to have to get my winning colors out to clean my floor. You know you're a true creative when you don't care that you've got paint on your floor. I just care that I get it done before Joe gets home with Mia. Actually, no, he's pretty good with that. What was bad was when Chaos was with us and we'd see paw prints on the floor. That drove him crazy. Okay, so kitchen cloth. What can we do with the kitchen cloth? Can we get a pattern from that? Yep, look at that. Again, you don't have to do the whole thing. Lightly touch it. Push heavy. Fingerprint. Without the DNA. So there's that. What else do we have? Oh, an onion bag. Now I don't have any sprays here. They're on order, but you can spray through here. You can also use this to stamp, which I love. So then I'm going to go into some quinacridone, transparent red iron oxide. Less is better when it comes to this. That way it's not one big smudge. Oh, I think Joe's home. I can hear him with another set of dog walking friends. I'm just going to stay here. There you go. Almost looks like a spider web. This would work really well as a background. And if you press too heavy, you get that. What if you drag it? Ooh, grunge. I like that. Okay, that's interesting. Quinacridone magenta. Looks like bark. That's a bit heavy, but you see what I mean here? There you go. So you could do that. Let me put that aside. Oh, okay. What have we got here? So, really, I mean, holy smokes, people. I mean, there's so much that you can do. Okay, well, I'm going to use paper towel. That's not a commercial art supply. I want to get into the other colors. And I'm just going to, stamp, stencil I should say. then I'm going to go off. Let's go to a different color. Too much paint there. Less is always better, but now I'm rushing. Okay, so you've got that. That's just packaging. And then, whatever you got here, I'm going to use another paper towel only because I don't want to get my hands overly dirty. Paper towel also has its own pattern. You know, when you have the textured paper towel, would have helped if I would have had it on the right side. Now I'm also going to show you, because a lot of this, it looks like a mess, right? But you're looking at it from the whole thing. You need to look at it from a smaller perspective. Look at that. Just by taking the excess. Okay, so let me put that aside. What else have we got? Oh, string. Okay, this is probably going to be messy. I want to use up this paint so I can get to the metallics. Fold that over. And it just makes a mishmash of lines. Now stay with me with this. I know right now it looks utterly messy. Okay, let me just do another one. Yeah, there's no rules. If you can make a mark, it's fair game. Okay, so now I'm going to take the matte metallics and I'm going to go right over what I have here. So that's the, let's see, okay, that's the charcoal. Now this is the pewter. I'm going to go over here. Now these are a little bit thicker. And then I have the vintage brass. And I'll go right in here. That one didn't mix very well. I didn't shake that enough. That's fine. That's fine. Aged bronze. And silver. The silver, I'm not sure how that's going to look, only because it's so light. Let me just pop that over here. All right. So now I'm going to make a formal piece. Let's say if I was creating a special project and I wanted a cohesive piece. So I'm going to take some cardboard. I love starting with cardboard. And I'm going to tear some pieces out. Get like a chopstick. And I'm showing the whole process. I'm not going to hide anything. That's another thing that I find a lot of beginners, they say to me, and I've been guilty of it too. When artists fast forward through the technique. I know I've done it too because it's a tedious step. But a lot of times is where beginners, you guys are looking for instruction and you need to see how the things happen. So if I've upset any beginners because of I fast forwarded through some of the techniques, it was no intent to piss you off. It's just tedious stuff is long to watch. But what I'm doing now is just telling people, if you've seen this before, just fast forward to the next section or whatever. Okay, so we have that. All right, so let's see what we can get with this. All right, so because I've got all the colors here, I am going to get a brush. Again, you don't have to use a brush. You can just, if you have a much bigger table to work with. So I'll just pop that on there. Okay. Now, if you have stamps and stencils, can you just imagine what you can do with this? I've done a video that has where I used stencils and stamps and all that stuff, and the stuff turned out amazing. Okay. That's not really what I wanted to do, but oh, I screwed that one up. That's okay. That's all right. But I'm just basically going over making marks. That's all I'm doing. I'm just making marks. But what happens if you do have something like that you don't like? What can you do with it? I always like to revert. Let me just grab some white. I like to go to white and overlay on top of it. Let me just let me use the paper towel cores, and all I want to do is just break that up. I'm going to go with a little bit of silver and white, so you can use that to break it up. You could use corks as well, just to break up the pattern. Anything that's got too much of a pattern, break it up. And I can go into black as well. Break up the pattern. And you might want to have a separate piece just to off stamp, because sometimes you get too much on there. Different sizes. Let's see what the silver looks like. No, the silver's too watery. I don't like the silver. What about a different color? Taking the pewter with the white. Was I off stamping there? Whoops. There we go. Yeah, you've got that. This big massive thing, I can go between two colors. Okay, that's that. What else have we got? Oh, so taking that. Where's my paper towel? And I can just, no, that's too small. This is where that's where the sprays might come in handy. I can come in and just do this. Or use a brush. And just brush through it. You get those little dots. Okay. And of course I've got to do the bubble wrap. Let's do this one. So that's a lot that's on there. So I have to have another piece on the side, and I can just, because some of them I may want to have something that's really heavy. So I could have something that's really heavy and then overlap something else on top. And then when I have the right amount removed, I can come back and just put that on there. Again, with the brush, it's a little bit easier because you control what's going on there. And if you're not thinking about it, you're going to get those nice patterns. Okay? And let's see. You know, other circles like this. I'll just use a brush because I have it full of paint. I could do something like this. I can just do something like this. Ideally, wait for your layer underneath to be dry. You can do something like that. Okay, so you can see. Oh, you can see how far you can get with this stuff. And I'll do one more piece, and this one here I'm going to work strictly with circles. And I want to get, oh god, I hope I don't make a mess with this. Alright, so I have to do a small circle. So this is the Deco Art. This is the polished coral. This is the metallic luster. It comes in a paste, but you can do so much with this in liquid form. Circles is always my thing. And usually when I'm creating my own stamp paper, I'll do this with black. Where's my straw? And if you have a really good straw and you can, and then twist it and then move it slightly, you get a scritchy pattern. Like circles. Let me see if I can do something a little bit bigger. Okay, so straight up and then gently turn and then move slightly. And you get a scritchy graffiti style. I'm going to reverse the order. And on a table that's flat, this is a little bit easier. My foam board is bent. And don't forget to go off the edges. Break up some of the patterns with these really funky corks. Oops. There we go. Less is better. Less is better, less is better, less is better. And then I could... Okay, let me just put this away because I know what's going to happen here. Yep. That's okay. That's all right. I can take this as a mask and then take, well, let's use that one because that fell in the paint. And use that so I'd get a round edge instead. Okay. But see how nice that is? And then you can choose how far you want to go with it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Take some, paper that you've cut out to create some interesting shapes. It's all about creating texture and patterns. You don't have to have a perfect print, because that's not what it's about. What else have I got? Oh, here's, okay, a form. Let me just rip that on the floor. What can I get with this? So, see how I'm getting a different pattern just by ripping it? Let me just rip it again. Okay. That's cool. And if you want a flat piece, this needs to off stamp to get rid of the excess. Maybe one in the middle. Okay, so that's that. Foam. This is air conditioner foam. Now mind you, all this is circles, but... And at this point I would stop. Okay, let me get another sheet. Get another sheet. Now, I'm going to leave these, there's a couple of sheets layered here. I want to see what happens if... the paint seeps through. Okay, get some more of this. Let me just do another one. And then some of the pieces should be dry that I can take apart to show you what you can do to create a piece of art with it. Now I'm working fairly quickly. Ideally, have everything laid out on your table, and that way you can create multiples in layers, giving each layer time to dry. Okay, and I'll just use this one here. Did it go through? Any of this go through? No. That didn't work. And you can stop and go, you know, and do whatever you want. Like I said, there are no rules. The only rule is basically if you want more defined patterns, let the stuff dry. Otherwise, just do whatever you want. Okay, that's that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean all this stuff. Oh, you know I didn't get to? The bright colors, but that's okay. You get the point. I'm going to clean all this stuff up, and then what I'm going to do is going to show you how you can use this by overlapping onto an actual piece of cardboard for, let's say, an artist trading card or even a gift card, or into, I'll also do something in a mixed media journal. All right, so I created 10 pieces of tissue plus this one kind of garbagey one, leftover paint. So I'm just going to quickly just show you these pieces quickly. Okay, now my favorite things to use is the onion bag, bubble wrap, and paper towel cores. That's my absolute favorite. Okay, so you got all this stuff. All right, what I want to show you, let me just put these away so I don't get it. What I want to show you something else that you can do. So you know how I ended up bringing out a couple of brushes to help, and I've got them here with the dirty paint water. You can use the dirty paint water to stain your tissue paper. Just be careful, like it's ripping. And when you stain it, I'm just keep going here, putting a lot of water on there on palette paper. And then what I'll do, and I'm just using what was that. So if you wanted to actually make your own staining color, that's fine. I'll leave it on the palette paper to dry. I usually give it a day. and then I will take it off. I don't hang it, I let it dry like this, because you'll get all these really cool, these cool marks. Wrinkles are encouraged. Let's push this here. And that way you have a full background ready to use. Okay, so let me just put this somewhere. Okay, so, oh, I want to show you. So this is, if you have stamps or stencils, you know, things that you can do. This is the same thing on deli paper. You just tear it. Here's using some stencils for a steampunk theme. Okay, so you can do really anything you want. I just showed you very quickly a few things that you could do. So you could take old artist trading cards. Let me just move this out of the way, and I will need a brush this time to actually, for collaging, and palette paper. What I'm going to do is a mixed media, well, not really, well, yeah, mixed media, because you're using more than just paint, of a faceless woman. So I've got the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics. I've got Phthalo Blue. I'm going to use Cobalt Teal Hue. So the colors that I had brought out before, I'm going to use Burnt Umber. I'm not going to use the orange though, because I don't want this video, well, this video is already going to be long. And Hansa Yellow Medium. And ideally the fluid acrylics, especially for the yellow, is perfect because it is transparent. And I don't think I'm going to need, I won't put the white out, but I may need it. I'm not sure. So first, let's just show you about collaging. So I'm going to use that side, and that side, because there's stuff that's there. No, that side. And basically pick a paper, and I'm just going to tear it. And for collaging, because this stuff is so delicate, and I'm using the Decor Medium Matte Medium, they also have a decoupage medium for napkins, which is really nice. Now when decoupaging, usually I decoupage the paper and I decoupage the material, but because this stuff is so delicate, I'm only going to do the back side and this. I'm not going to do anything else because it'll tear. But look how transparent that is. Okay, and then you can take other patterns and collage on top to create even more patterns. And I can take this part here, ideally wait for it to dry, and overlap this to create another pattern. So the more layers that you put on, the more opaque it's going to be. Let me just do another one. Just want to show you so that way you see what it's like. And then it gets to the point where you can't see any of the background. Look how cool that is. Wait for it to dry. Don't do what I'm doing. Okay, so there you go. So there's something that you can use from an ugly background. And again, all the other pieces, use them up. Because the pieces like this here, which really doesn't serve any purpose, well, the purpose is that it can make cheap scrapbook paper nice and thick. You'd end up putting it in the garbage anyways. But watch what's happening now is the layer underneath now is not as strong. So if you happen to put something, a pattern of stamped paper that you did, or your own DIY tissue paper that's too strong, take some of the other patterns or the other blank parts and use that to dial it back. So what I'm creating here is a grungy, graffiti style, grungy background. There we go. I love that. And I can turn around, I can wrap that around the back, let that dry, wrap it around, collage that on there. So let me just put that over here. And now for this one, so you have an idea, so I'm just going to do this one. I'll just do this one. So a vibrant color. Well, let me use a different paper. Let's use something that's, let's just use this ugly thing. So I don't like this pattern whatsoever. So what can I do with it? And the beauty of this is that because the paper is so unique, nobody else, unless you're at a table and you're sharing the material, nobody else would have created the same thing. But like I said, the key thing, let it dry. I don't have the patience for that. You see how thin the paper is? It's curling. And I'm thinking, okay, well, whoopsie. I'm not a fan of this big black blob. What can I do with it? Well, remember on the other pieces, we had some white on there. Or combine other sheets. You don't have to use the same sheet. I want to break that up. There we go. Remember, the more layers, the less transparent it becomes, what's underneath. And I would basically just keep doing this until I can't see any of that ugly green background. Okay. Come in. I really don't like this side. I would come in actually with something like that. Really sets it back. Now look at that. And these are perfect for backgrounds. Put that aside and let me do one. Let's say we have one that doesn't have anything on it. Well, that's an easy one because whatever you put on it, it's going to look just the way it is. There's nothing that's really can go wrong if you want to use the whole piece. What I would do in this case is use scraps. If the paper's thin, use scraps to thicken up the paper. That would be the first thing that I would do. Just thicken up the paper. So use scraps, use the white pieces. Like this stuff here. Thicken up the paper. Then if I wanted to use, let's say you did a piece that you absolutely loved, then you can put the whole piece on there if you want. So let's just do that. And then let it dry. That's the part that I can't stand is the drying time. You know what? Let me know in the comments below if you enjoy drying time. See, I ripped it. I ripped it because I'm impatient. I am not perfect when it comes to art. I'm so, oh, that was inappropriate. I'm so impatient when it comes to the drying time that I spend more time fixing than I do enjoying. Sometimes. Sometimes I just like what happens when I don't let things dry. Because sometimes you get those really nice little happy accidents. Like that. Not like that. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. Oh my god. Okay, let me put that aside. Oh my goodness. Alright, so let me take that paper and put that aside. Alright, now, so you have an idea now about what to do when it comes to that. So now let's go into a journal. So I'm just going to open up and this is my Faces journal. my faces journal, and where I do nothing but just faces. So I'm just going to take this, whatever, it could be any page. I'm just going to take this one here because that's the next one. And I'm going to use that. I like that. I'm not even going to paint the background. I'm going to take a bigger brush to speed this process. And put matte medium over the whole piece. Now at this point I can use a whole sheet or I can cut it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to... Now when you're tearing the paper has grain, so it's going to follow a certain direction when it's tearing. I want a clean edge there because it's going to go against the book, or the spine I should say. And make that a little bit overlapped. So the background is gray, ugly gray thing, it actually is showing through. So is that good or bad? It depends. It depends on what you want. So then I'm going to get another sheet. And I like randomly tearing it because that's what really gets the unique patterns. Let's just go right over here. And because the paint I'm going to be using is transparent, that's why I want to get some stuff with a lot of things going on. Because I want this to show through the actual painting that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going for a graffiti style, and I'm going to be painting in an abstract body of a woman, her torso. Okay, let me just put these away, and let me just get one more. Just going through to find what I like. Gotta have bubble wrap. Gotta have it in there. I'm just going to overlap that one here. There we go. Okay, so I'm thinking body here. So I need a little bit more up. I need a little something up here. Nothing too busy. Definitely want it to have a pattern. So I just tore it. There we go. Again, if what you're doing, if it's too much, just put a layer of paper to set it back. A layer of translucent paper to set it back. Okay, so I can do this next part while the paint is wet. I want to apply a layer of color. So I'm going to take my dirty brush. I'm going to go into cobalt teal hue, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to that. Not too much water because you don't want to break down the strength of the medium. It's just adding a little bit. I'm going to take a little bit of phthalo blue, just a little bit. And I'm going to take a paper towel, just going to blot this part here. That's where the body is going to be. And I could also spray this with water. Again, you got to be careful. If you have time, let it dry. And then you can spray and then tilt it to create those nice splotches. You can do that. Tilt it and do all that kind of nice stuff. I mean, there's, again, like I said, there's no rules when it comes to this. The only rules really when it comes to this type of stuff is the chemistry. I mean, don't put acrylics over oils, and unless you're going for that effect, make sure that you, if you're using a hair blower or a heat gun, have it far up so you're not burning your material unless you purposely want to burn your material. Let stuff dry. See, I didn't, and now I ripped a piece off in the corner. Ah, my goodness. Patience is not my thing. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie about it. I used to have patience, not anymore. Well, that's an interesting technique there. Slip slap. Not liking that piece there. That's the beauty with this, that I can change it. Torn paper, matte medium. Don't do what I'm doing. I'm dipping right into the bottle with my dirty brush. There we go. Now I'm going to have a broken pattern there. And I'm going to let that dry. All right, so I'm going to take all this extra pieces here, put it right back in my box, because you can use this stuff, to, like I said before, to thicken up art pieces. Like, look how thin that paper is and how it's curling. So you want to just thicken up your pieces there. I'm going to use my heat gun, and I'm going to just speed up the drying time. And then I'm going to, at that point, then you can use gesso to set certain parts back, which I'm going to do. And then I'll get to painting the person, which will take no time at all. All right, so it's relatively dry. It's still a little bit damp up here, but it's ready to go. So at this point now, depending on what you want to create, you know, you can put gesso on this to set it back, put a layer of paint. It's up to you. That's all depends on what you want to make. I'm going to work with it right as is to see what I can do. So I'm going to take a small brush, and normally I would just sketch something out, but I'm going to work it right as I go. So I'm going to go with the burnt umber on a little round brush, and I'm going to get a face set up here. So I'll just do my sketching with my brush. And I've done a lot of these faces, or faceless women. They're quite nice. These work really well when you're creating quotes too. And there's no perfection involved with this. So I'm just going to create a shoulder. Okay, I'm just basically getting a silhouette in here. And you can, you know, go to the internet and find, do a search for, you know, silhouettes of women. You can do that. Okay, so I'm just going to get that part done first, let that dry. I'm going to rinse my brush just a little bit. I don't care if it's dirty. I'm going to go right into the phthalo blue with a little bit of burnt umber. Let's get something a little bit darker, quite darker. And I'm just going to, her hat. So burnt umber with phthalo blue creates a beautiful teal color. just going to round that up. My brushes, this brush is in really bad shape. It's going to be joining the pile of other brushes that are for junk. I can't even hold a point. Okay, so I'll let that dry. Now I'm going to rinse my brush again. Then I'm going to go with the yellow. And I'll put a little bit of burnt umber in that. All I'm doing is getting a base in here. So that's her dress. This is the easy part. And this can be sketchy, it can be any color you want. And I'm just going to not make her so thin. And I can actually just let that fade into the bottom. I don't have to actually finish the whole piece. Like that. Rinse the brush. I'm going to go right into burnt umber. And then her arms. And her arms will just kind of fade in into the dress. God, that brush is terrible. Oh, jeepers creepers. Oh, I can't reach the other ones. Okay. Yeah, these brushes, these are the Moderna Royal Landigal. They're budget, real budget brushes. They're nice, but they don't last. The soft grips, for me, the soft grips last longer. Okay, and then same thing here. And her arm is just going to fade into the side of her dress. Let me get her shoulder. Like I said, there's no real wrong way to do this because you're just creating the representation. But look how you can see everything through here. Isn't that neat? Okay, I want to get my heat gun. I'm going to quickly dry this. A much better brush. I'm going to go in. I'm going to put that away. Okay, so I'm going to go in now with just the phthalo blue. And I'm just going to just sketch in a little bit of a pattern here. Not covering everything up because I want some of the pieces underneath to show through. I'm going to go into burnt umber. Whoopsie. Guess what I forgot to do? Forgot to rinse my brush. Forgot to rinse my brush. It's not really a problem, but I don't want her face to be blue. Burnt umber without the blue. It's fine for the base, but there we go. And you can make the faces any color you want. Transparent red iron oxide is a nice color to show the transparency. Burnt sienna. Raw umber, raw umber's all right. It's a bit too flat. But with if I was using the Traditions, I would have to add a lot of water to this because burnt umber in the Traditions is more opaque. I want to be able to see the paper through here. And then her neck. And I'm following the lines of what it is I'm painting. So for her face, I'm making sure that I go around like that. And the neck, I would never paint horizontal because the neck doesn't grow that way. But again, like I said, you really don't worry about that stuff. Just get the thing done. There we go. like that. And I'll come right in and put another layer of brown closer to the inside where her dress is. So that'll be the darker part, like that. Let's round that out a bit. Rinse, rinse, rinse. And I'm going to go back in with another layer of yellow just to brighten this up. I'm going to be careful going close to the brown because that hasn't dried yet. Now, if you were to use a different color, let's say, something that's opaque, like naphtha red light or something, just add a bit of water so you can see what is happening underneath. Now, the other thing too, this is why I like doing the actual pieces, the DIY tissue stuff in black, because it doesn't affect the colors. So if this here, if these things that I was circling, if they were a green, putting the yellow on top, then I'd get a brighter green, and that may not be appropriate. But if it was black, everything else was black, it'd be fine. So how do you get around that if you've got a piece that you really like? Well, you can do an initial sketch, then put a little bit of gesso on there to kind of knock it back, and then do your painting. And that's it, my friends. That's that. And again, remember, this is more conceptual. It's not to be a formal piece, it's not a formal portrait, but just to show you how you can create a beautiful background with all these lines here. And this particular thing inspires me from when we were in Freeport, where at the straw market, and there were these artisans making these most beautiful dresses. I picked up this particular piece. It was yellow, and I just wrap it around myself, like to cover my top half, and they made such beautiful dresses, and the patterns and the colors were gorgeous, and that's where I'm getting this particular inspiration from. And unfortunately, I don't remember who these people are. It was a tourist area, but they were true artists, and I just wanted to make a kind of like a representation of that. So, and then these little pieces here are almost dry. I cut them off, but you can see, how they look. And from there, I can turn around and let's just take phthalo blue and just go over that. And then I'm just going to smudge that around. So just by tinting it, you're tinting it a different color. Now you can see where it's just the paper. There's no matte medium there. Okay, and then if I were to take this one, let's go over this with yellow. Just showing you what can happen. When you have the transparent colors going on top. And if you really want to strengthen it, you can also mix a little bit of matte medium in this. I'm going to go right in with the blue. So, we've got that one. And that one is becoming dislodged. Oh, let's go into the cobalt teal hue. Right with the dirty brush, turning a little bit yellow. Pick up a little bit of phthalo blue. And let's get a clean piece. And I'm just going to blot, and you can blot more in one area where see where the white is. I can really blot that out. So this is an instant way to add color to your piece. This one here is kind of bland. So I'll just re-blot over that. And then come in and just wipe out the white. See? And then this piece here, I'll let it dry, and then I'll rinse it out once it's dry, and then I'll have a baby wipe with some color, which I can then further cut out and collage onto another piece. All right, so that's it. So I hope that this gave you some ideas on creating your own DIY collage papers, the translucent papers, and to give you some ideas of what you can do with them. And again, if it can make a mark, it's fair game. So raid your recycle bin, look around your house for stuff that, you know, you're not sure. Packaging, cardboard, foam pieces, even toilet paper rolls, bubble wrap, wine corks, you know, anything. If you can hold it, you can make a mark. Tops of bottles, chopsticks. I'm just looking around right now my studio. I can use pieces of paper that I can cut out into shapes, the containers. Let's see. Baby wipes have patterns on them. You know, just there is no shortage. And so you can use that and then just stamp on tissues. In another video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same type of thing, but this time I'm going to be actually using stencils, and then I'll do another video on using stamps, and then another video on combining all the techniques together. And just to show you that you don't have to spend $30 on a tissue collage with repetitive patterns, that you can make something that's truly unique and your own using stuff you already have. And especially the stamps and stencils, if there's some that you don't like, those are ideal because you can tear them and use those to collage onto some pieces. All right, so I look forward to seeing you in those videos, and until then, stay inspired.